Isaac, another show. Oh my gosh.
Wow, it was awesome, right?
It was. But another trade show. Scott Walker coming to you from Southwest Audio Fest 2025 with my boy Isaac from REL Acoustics. We decided to use the 6-pack of RELs with the Magico S5s. Did not need subwoofers in this room, by the way. But that's not the reason we used the subs. But the speaker has tremendous bass output, energized the room beautifully. The room's amazing, actually. But the RELs, gotta say, whole nother level of performance.
Thanks. I love working with you guys. It's always a pleasure. This is only the second time we've ever done a 6-pack at a show.
You're kidding.
I'm not. Actually, I was like, so this is only and in fact, the other one was quite recent. So this is special.
Yeah.
Right? You guys are working with somebody who is really good. I have a lot of faith and trust and who often, just goes above and beyond. And it's really a pleasure to work with you.
It's so much fun. The product's amazing. Let's talk over here. Colby, if you can get closer so you can get the subwoofer, you can probably see it from there. Why subwoofers and why 6 subwoofers? Let's talk about what 2 subwoofers do in a system and then why people might consider 6, because of course it's 6 times the cost, but what it does for the low frequency and the mid-range is not believable.
And I'm so glad you said that. And I want to take a moment to say what a great speaker this is.
Of course.
The Magico S5 is extraordinary. And I think you said it really well. The belief at REL isn't that these speakers don't make tremendous bass.
Yeah.
It's that because you already love the speaker, the goal is to reinforce the stuff that you already love about it.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things I've done with you, and you've seen this in real time and your customers have seen here, is when you walk side to side in your home, and you can do this in your own home and try it, just speak walking from one side of the room to the other, and you'll realize that your voice changes.
Yeah.
So stereo subs are really more active room acoustics when done right. It's not about creating more bass for the speaker.
Yeah.
It's about allowing the room to breathe really effortlessly so that we're supporting the reason you bought this product in the first place.
So what I tell a lot of people, Isaac, is that a case could be made for every high-end system to have a couple subwoofers.
Agreed.
Because from my perspective, listen, come on, it's a Magico. Are you kidding me? It's a Formula One car. It does everything. But what it cannot do is what a subwoofer can do is create immense amount of pressure with thousands of watts of power creating that pressure. It's from a physics perspective, it's not possible.
That's exactly right. We're asking a product that was designed to have a glorious mid-range, this incredible texture and tonality, to also be a woofer.
Yeah.
It could play this low if we put it in this part of the room, but then it doesn't sing. So I'm not fixing speakers, right? We're fixing rooms together. We are allowing people to get more of the performance they were already buying. In fact, one of the things I love showing people is when we'll pull out woofers and people go, oh my God, this speaker is unlistenable without the woofer. And I go, but you don't understand because I don't make mid-range. I don't make treble. So the irony is the better the main speaker is, the more we can extract with the woofer. So it's counterintuitive. We're getting more for your buck when you've already bought a great speaker.
The scale, the pressure, the heft, the weight, the soundstage height, depth, and scale of the soundstage, the texture of the mid-range and bass is added by these subwoofers. People go, oh, how does it affect the mid-range? It does.
It does.
And it affects all of the multiples of harmonics there above the bass frequencies.
Correct.
In a crazy way, folks. You got to hear me. If you have a high-end system and you don't have a few subs, you should talk to us about that, because we can talk to you about getting some subs in your room. I like 2 subs.
Yeah.
The stereo image needs a left and a right to faithfully recreate the stereo image. 1 is fine and it recreates pressure.
Correct.
It does. It adds pressure. It does. However, 2 gives you that extremely holographic foundational effect.
You get that recording space, and you'll hear me say space a lot. The making of the bass is a consequence of trying to recreate the space.
Yeah.
And when we have the space, then all of these details come out. I think one of my favorite demos for a 6-pack of woofers of all things is a harmonica and slide guitar track. And everybody agrees there's no bass in a harmonica.
That's interesting.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it is.
It is amazing. We're creating context. The best way to talk about this is to say, hey, there's no bass in my voice. I wish there was. I'm not Jeff Castellucci, unfortunately. However, there is bass in the room, and that provides the context of how far away I am. Yeah. And you talked about height, and I want to talk about that for just a second, because that's why you buy a 6-pack. You buy a 6-pack not to get more bass, right? You get the stereo woofers. That is all the bass you will ever need. We're not putting more bass into the room. We're actually having each one do less, which makes it more effortless. But the key is this top one. The atmospheric bass incorporated into all of these instruments we've never paid attention to is mind-boggling. One of my favorites is crash cymbal. It's way up here. That instrument is way up high off the drum kit, but a lot of times it's reproduced right about tweeter level, or if we're lucky, just a little bit higher than tweeter level.
For sure.
The 6-pack allows us to get those low frequencies that we're not hearing actively, but provide the context like my voice, and the instrument is now huge, and it's shimmering, and it's tall. I like this for the sense of space, the realism, the texture, not because I'm trying to pound the room.
And in this room, we didn't use your biggest, baddest subwoofers. This is sort of middle of the line subwoofer.
This is the S510. This is actually the entry level for our Series S product. This is one of my favorite products because it's not that expensive, easy to deploy in multiple, so you're not going to break the bank to get a pair of these. And if you want, if it's appropriate for you, you work with your dealer, right, to find out what's right for me, this becomes the most affordable 6-pack that we make. And all of a sudden, you can take a pair of 805s from Bowers & Wilkins. You can take these stand mount speakers or all the way up to a big Magico, and this product is still the right choice.
The other thing is the way that these are hooked up. Basically, folks out there in audio land, you're going to hook up a main lead to the bottom cabinet, and that's hooked up from your speaker or amplifier with a proprietary kind of connection. You guys probably are aware of the Speak-On connector. And then you jump out with jumpers up to this woofer. You jump out of this into this woofer. Correct. So there's not a crazy amount of wire. There are some wires, but not a crazy amount of wire.
Yeah, if you look back here for the amount of gear we have, it is surprisingly way less cables than you would think for other components.
And folks out there, that if you do have subwoofers, you got to upgrade your subwoofer cables. It adds, seriously, 33% increase in transparency, impact, and all that. And really, that's the challenge with the subwoofer, is to get it to be transparent in the room and to integrate with the speakers. I find by quality cabling, you don't have to go crazy, but just upgraded quality cables will add transparency and a sense of just the subwoofers disappearing in the room and integrating with the main speakers better.
You're exactly right. We believe in this so much that we have our own baseline.
I know you do. I know you do.
But listen, buy whatever brand you work with your dealer. We didn't create this to say it's the only right option, but you're right, Scott. The difference in texture and tonality. Again, I want to focus on the mid-range is improved. It's not about how much slam necessarily we get out of these woofers. It really is the rest of the system.
So we've had a tremendous result here at the show with the woofers. We appreciate your guys' partnership in the room. You guys are amazing. And we've got the RELs at our stores. If you want to come and hear the demo for yourself, you can hear the system, any of our speakers with the subwoofers on and off. It's pretty easy to hear the difference. The 32s at our store.
Unbelievable. Josh called me to say, Isaac, oh my God, you said these things were great, but wow.
On a magnitude that you just don't expect. All of the things. Sure, they do the pressure, but they also do all the other things that we talked about.
Right. So and I want to take a moment to say, guys, you don't buy the deal, you buy your dealer. There's a reason that I have chosen to work with Scott for years, and it's because he's great. He and Josh and Colby, they know how to set up systems, they know how to dial in speakers. And while I love to take credit for how these things sound, the real work honestly goes into setting up the main speakers, which you guys are great at. Once that's done and you have that relationship with your dealer, integrating amazing RELs is a lot simpler than you think and becomes not quite plug and play, but about as close as we get in our industry. So, Scott, thanks.
Big difference in performance. We appreciate it. Thank you for an amazing show.
Such a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Isaac. Scott Walker Audio coming to you from Southwest Audio Fest 2025. We're in the Synergistic Research Scott Walker Audio Room. We are connecting you to the moment